As more and more evidence piles up that the deep state has stolen this election, Trumpers and Trumpettes the world over are being told to just lay down our guns and accept the fact that the days of the Donald are over. But we must recognize this assault for exactly what it is. Psychological warfare meant to destroy our morale so that they can win the war in the court of public opinion before Trump can decimate them at the Supreme Court. But we must resist the black pill with all our will, and we must stand strong against the onslaught of cynical, fascist tyranny, never wavering in our resolve, and make it loud and clear that Donald J. Trump is our president.
Let me tell them who I am. Well, I came, I'm a man. 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
I can think of no more appropriate way to start out this show than with the famous clip of Andrew Breitbart, the man who is most likely killed by the deep state himself.
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, fuck you. War.
Goddamn right, we are at war. And I declared it a while ago. But here's the thing, we did not declare war. They declared it on us. But we are finally having the balls to fight back. And there is no more room on our side for any spineless, weak-willed, limp-dick conservatives who want to lay down and die for these goddamn communists that are trying to take over our fucking country. And that's exactly what they are. They're communists. They're global communists. They are bought out by China. They are bought out by all these foreign interest groups. We will have no more of that. It is America first. And Donald Trump is the man who woke up that spirit in America, woke us up out of the malaise that we were in. And we will not have any more RINOs. We will not have any more limp-wristed conservatives that are just too afraid to fight because, we're just too decent for that. Fuck you. Fuck you. Get fucked. If you're not willing to fight, then why don't you get the fuck off the field, go home and cook some dinner, and I'll be able to fuck your wife later. Because you're a bitch. We're here to fight. And we're here to fight till the bitter fucking end. And if you're not ready to do that, if you're sitting there taking the black pill, listen to all these goddamn doomers out there saying that, oh, it's over, Trump's lost, it's all over. You are a sucker for these same people who have been attacking you for years. We will not put up with this shit. No longer. It's over. And speaking of those RINOs, those weak-willed Republicans, the election is over. The attacks on our voting system really need to stop. Right on time, dirty Paul Ryan hits Trump at the virtual EU conference. Paul Ryan. Do you really think that it is any coincidence that he went from a young rising GOP star to retiring to spend more time with his family? I think they had some serious dirt on Paul Ryan. And I think that he was a total sellout, a total fraud, and he tricked Republicans and conservatives the world over. And it's always funny because back in that day, I was like, I like Paul Ryan, but he never gets anything done. He always seems to cower. And have you ever noticed that, especially during the era of Barack Obama, as we see Paul Ryan here posing all happily, laughing and giggling like a little schoolgirl with Obama, during the era of Obama, who were the Republicans that were really standing out at that time? John McCain? Mitt Romney? Paul Ryan? The fact that we could, I'm embarrassed for myself that I was unable to identify the grift at that time, because all of those Republicans were just stooges for the Democrats. They were definitional RINOs, Republicans in name only. They were Democrats. They were Democrats that were up there to create the illusion of opposition, the illusion that somebody was fighting against this deep state establishment move towards a globalist structure. They never had our backs. Never once. John McCain especially. He is the worst of them all. And he is, thank God, burning in the 9th layer of hell. You know, the 9th layer of hell is supposed to be reserved for fraudsters. The people who are utterly dishonest with everybody. That's supposed to be the inner circle of hell. The worst of the worst are the fraudsters. And we've had plenty of those in the GOP. Plenty of those. So, former anti-Trump speaker Paul Ryan spoke on Tuesday at Bank of America's virtual European Credit Conference. Of course, it's a European credit conference. Does that not just sound like a beacon for global elites? The European Credit Conference? It's up there with like Davos and the Bilderberg Group. So during his talk, Ryan slammed the Trump team, saying the attacks on our voting system really need to stop. Yeah, I agree. The attacks on our voting system really do need to stop. And by the attacks on our voting system, I mean the fraud and the rigging and the absolute loss of the American people's voice and who represents us. Instead, we're defrauded by people who tell us what we want to hear, claim that they fight for us, and then they get into office and they do goddamn nothing. And we've always chalked that up to, well, that's Washington, D.C. Well, guess who has proven that wrong? Donald Trump. You can go into D.C. You can shake things up. You can be uncorrupted by all of the swamp rats just gnawing at you. Now, I understand the first couple years of Trump's presidency were a little rough because he himself was surrounded by swamp rats. But you have to understand, with Donald Trump coming into office as a complete political outsider, he had to get his footing in that world. And so, of course, he was going to make some mistakes, and he hired his John Boltons and Mad Dog Mattises and those motherfuckers. He did have some people he was surrounded with that were representative of the deep state, because he was coming in there. He had to figure out who was who. He had to weed it out, but he did fire them. He got rid of all of them. And now he's got the Trump team in place. Now that he has the elements of the government that saw what he was doing and were able to align themselves with him, he has now put those people in place, especially in the military, especially in that civilian oversight branch that they've made that is, you know, I hear John Brennan is freaking out because they're saying it's running, it's like a shadow CIA. Motherfucker, the CIA is the shadow government. He's now creating something that can operate outside of the CIA, because the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, all corrupt. So he has to create his own wings, his own branches, his own programs that can run counter to all of the corruption that is taking place to all those three-letter agencies that have let us down at every turn. So, former House Speaker Paul Ryan said Tuesday that it's time to move on to an orderly transfer of power to President-elect Joe Biden's administration. First of all, he's not president-elect. Second of all, you're a bitch, Paul Ryan. Joe Biden is not the president-elect, and we are not going to have an orderly transfer of power to somebody who stole the goddamn election and did it so plainly, so clearly in front of our eyes. There is no doubt whatsoever that this was an absolute fraudulent election. Donald Trump was up like crazy, despite all the Dominion ratios where he was getting less value per vote and Joe Biden was getting boosted in value per vote. I think it was like a vote for Trump went 0.75. A vote for Biden went 1.25. And he was still landsliding. And that's why they had to call the election. Oh, no. We got to stop counting. We're getting sleepy. Yeah, because Donald Trump went in such a landslide that it broke their cheating algorithm. And then they had to ferry in all of these fake mail-in ballots in the middle of the night after they mysteriously counted stopped counting the ballots. And all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and, look at that. Another 300,000 votes for Biden that we counted after we told you we stopped counting, after everybody who was watching left. And you want to tell us to just lay down and accept an orderly transfer of power? Get fucked, Paul Ryan. Get fucked. So, Ryan's comments were made Tuesday during Bank of America's virtual European credit conference and reported by Politico. So the election is over. The outcome is certain. And I really think the orderly transfer of power is one of the most uniquely fundamental American components of our political system. You know what else is a uniquely fundamental American component of our political system? Free and fair, unrigged elections. So fuck you again, Paul Ryan. No, this election is not over. The outcome is anything but certain. And if you're a Republican saying that the outcome is certain, that you're guaranteed that Joe Biden won, then you are suspect as fuck. And you're actually worse. You are worse than these deep state leftists who outright claim that they are leftists. Because you are defrauding people who think they are voting for one thing and then you're giving them something else. And that was you, Paul Ryan. That was you every step of the way. Your entire political career was a fraud, was a scam, a con pulled on the American people to pull the wool over their eyes so that they thought that they had somebody fighting for them while you went around and sold them the fuck out. I think maybe even more important is these legal challenges to the outcome, and the attacks on our voting system really need to stop, in my opinion. No one cares about your fucking opinion. You retired in disgrace. I got some theories about John McCain, too. About how he died of a brain tumor. Yeah, I don't know about all that. So, the outcome will not be changed. Yes, it will. And it will only serve to undermine our faith in our system of government, our faith in our democracy. Our faith in our system of government and our democracy is already shattered. Wake the fuck up, Paul Ryan. Do you not see what's going on with the people who used to vote for you? It's because you were a sellout from day one. A con and a fraud. You don't give a fuck about the American people. You don't care about conservatives. Look at you. Look at you standing there with Barack Obama. Barack Obama came into office saying that he wanted to fundamentally transform America. And you're sitting here all goofy, dopey, smiling and laughing with him. He was the enemy from day one. He was the enemy. This whole idea that we are supposed to be conciliatory. This whole idea that we are supposed to be that we are supposed to be the nice guys. No. The nice guys finished last. We're not the nice guys anymore. We are at motherfucking war, and we are fighting, and we are out for blood. Metaphorically speaking, unless you bring it to us. Unless you bring it to us out in the streets. And I got something on that coming up in a minute. But, you know, we kept hearing everybody from the left saying, Joe Biden saying, it's a time to unite. Again, get fucked. Just like Andrew Breitbart said, you're going to sit there and you're going to call us racist. You're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs. You're going to call us every phobe and name in the book. You are going to berate us and just constantly piss on us in Hollywood, in the media, in social media. You censor us. Everything that you do. Now all of a sudden, you've stolen the election. You've created the illusion of a victory for yourself. And now it's time to unite. Get fucked. There is no uniting with you guys. You have broken our will. No, you haven't broken our will. You've broken the system. You've broken our trust. And now our will is stronger than ever. And it is aimed squarely at the people who have fucked us for so damn long. But they can sit there and talk about making their list of Trump supporters and all this all they want. They're not the only ones who can create lists. Here we have from the Red Elephants. Here is a list of Republicans who have turned their backs on Trump, calling for him to concede. And let's just get straight to the list. Mitt Romney, because of course, he is another Paul Ryan, another John McCain, another Jeff Flake, another fake Republican. Marco Rubio, also not a big surprise. I've never really thought of him as being a totally fake Republican, just sort of a limp dick weak Republican. He's always been a pussy-ass little bitch. And so, fuck Marco Rubio too. Mike Shirkey from Michigan. Mike DeWine from Ohio. Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger from Georgia. Yeah, I know about those. That's my home state. I've been following that. Raffensperger is as dirty as they come. He's rolling in the mud with the pigs. Brian Kemp, maybe a slight chance at redemption, but no. I just say get the fuck rid of him, replace him with somebody real. Replace him with somebody that we know we can trust. Because I think at this point, if Brian Kemp comes back and he tries to make good with Trump supporters, no, we can't trust him. We can't trust him. Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania. Liz Cheney from Wyoming. Oh, surprise, surprise. A Cheney, part of the establishment. Larry Hogan from Maryland. Fred Upton from Michigan. John Cornyn from Texas. That one's actually surprising me a little bit. John Cornyn surprises me, but you know what? He can get fucked like everybody else. James Lankford from Oklahoma. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. Of course, we knew Lisa Murkowski. Ben Sass from Nebraska. Of course, we knew Ben Sass, too. Susan Collins, another predictable one. Jim Durkin from Illinois. Dan Young from Alaska. Francis Rooney from Florida. John Shimkus from Illinois. Adam Kinzinger from Illinois. Paul Mitchell from Michigan. Don Bacon from Nebraska. Tom Reed from New York. Will Hurd from Texas. John Curtis from Utah. And Denver Riggleman from Virginia. Copy this list. Write this list down. Anybody that you see that is in your state, do everything that you can to make sure that they do not survive their next election. They need to be voted out as quickly as possible. They just they're turncoats. They're turncoats. This is a list of Benedict Arnolds. For all I'm concerned, this could say Benedict Arnold, Benedict Arnold, Benedict Arnold, Benedict Arnold. That is who these people are. And what they need to understand is that most of the people who vote Republican these days are more than willing to turn their back on Republicans. And that has come out now in the Gateway Pundit. Only 3% of Trump voters believe Joe Biden legitimately won the election, and 72% say they would leave the GOP for a Trump party. Add me to that list. Add me to that list. Because for the longest time, I've liked what the Republicans stood for, and I've hated the fact that they never actually stood for it. So, it's clear that the fraud, anomalies, and shady practices during the election have irreparably harmed the public's trust in the U.S. election system. It's also clear that the president should keep fighting. Damn straight, and he's going to. Because Donald Trump fights for the people. According to a new CNBC/Change Research poll, a staggering 73% of respondents consider Trump the legitimate winner. He is the legitimate winner. Just 3% believe that Trump should concede and begin transfer power. Those 3%, those are the ones that you're out. You're out. You're out of the club. You might as well go be a Democrat for all we care. You're dead to us. 2/3, or 66%, think Trump should never concede. Those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those up. We got to pump those numbers up. 66%, I mean, at least it's a majority. 2/3, that's a solid majority. Think that Trump should never concede. And no, he shouldn't. No way. He needs to pull himself as Stacey Abrams. The only difference is when Stacey Abrams did it, she did it with some just unaccountable claims of voter suppression. Nothing to back it up. Nothing she could say, just broad claims with no evidence. We actually have, like I said, a mountain of evidence so high that we are looking down at the peak of Mount Everest. So the vast majority of Trump voters, 81%, said they would not give Biden a chance as president. Of course we won't give Biden a chance as president. What do we need to give him a chance on? The dude's been in government for 47 fucking years. We know exactly who he is. He was vice president under Barack Obama for 8 years. We know how that administration went. We already know all about his dealings where he has sold America out to Ukraine, China, Russia, many other countries. We know what he was doing, using his son, Hunter, his drug-addicted son, as a proxy to be his lit man, to go out and collect millions upon millions of dollars. Oh, that's not going to turn your son into even more of a junkie, because not only are you a terrible politician who sold out America every step of the way to line your own damn pockets, you're a shitty fucking father who has thrown his son onto the pyre in order to keep lining your damn pockets. That's right, you had Beau Biden, the golden child, the one who was also probably a criminal and set to take over the Biden crime family business. And then he had to get he got a brain tumor. Huh. Kind of interesting. Both him and John McCain, huh? Both Biden and John McCain with those brain tumors. It's interesting. But yeah, so Beau Biden dies, and Joe Biden says, well, Hunter's a crackhead and sex-addicted, meth-addicted, prostitute-banging philanderer. But yeah, let's go ahead and put him in the room with mobsters and Ukrainian oligarchs who, are also mobsters, and Chinese communists who disappeared dissidents. Yeah, let's go ahead and throw my crack-addicted son in there so that he can line my pockets with more millions of dollars. Joe Biden is quite possibly the biggest piece of shit in modern American politics. So what the fuck? Why would 19% say they're going to give him a chance? We know who this man is. We know exactly who this man is. Going and eulogizing his old buddy Senator Byrd, who was a big KKK guy, and then he wants to come out and call Trump a racist. Get fucked. So loyalty runs deep among the respondents. Asked with whom they would identify if the president left the GOP, 72% responded Trump's party, while 28% answered the Republican Party. And you know what? That might be a welcome change. And those 28% Republicans, guess what? You're going to be irrelevant. You might as well be Democrats, because you practically already are. But I think, we should call it the Patriot Party. I think that would be fantastic. If Trump just ditched all the weak, spineless, establishment, pseudo-conservative Republicans and form the Patriot Party for those that want to put America first and Americans first. And put safeguards so that this shit doesn't happen again. And one thing that I think we really, really need to do is be much more vigilant about holding people to their oath of office. And if they break that oath of office, kick them the fuck out. That means if you have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution and you start pushing for gun legislation, gone. It's clear cut. You are breaking your oath of office when you push for things that are unconstitutional. If you are a Democrat who has sworn an oath to the Constitution and you go ahead and you start talking about we need tech to censor more people, that is not protecting the Constitution. That is not defending the Constitution. You're the fuck out. Gone. We need to impeach. We need to be vigilant. And maybe this will come through regular people pushing petitions. Maybe it will take us putting our boots on the ground and getting some action, getting involved, and making sure that anybody who swears an oath to this country, swears an oath to our Constitution, if they violate that oath, if they start pushing for ideas that are not in the spirit of the Constitution, you're done, you're out, one strike policy. I am fed up with this. Fed up. Speaking of fed up, next article is from 100% Fed Up. It's not just the media and social media. It's also the Antifa people who Joe Biden claims is just an idea. They're not an organization. They're just an idea. Because you're covering for them. You're covering for communists. Communists who want to overthrow America. And you're going to put your hand on a... You're not, but hypothetically speaking, he intends to put his hand on a Bible and swear to defend the Constitution while playing cover to communists who are burning our country to the ground and want to overthrow everything America stands for. This is unacceptable. This cannot stand. We should not be allowing this to happen. And if it comes down to it, we need to be prepared to fight in any means we need to. The left is allowed to do that. They have their Antifa offshoot organization by any means necessary. You know what? When you're in war, you do not get to define all of the parameters for the rules of engagement. Your opposition has a say. Our say has always been one of civility. Theirs has not. But they're the ones who set the rules. And if they set those rules, we better be ready to play by them. Or we will get stomped out. So, from 100% fed up. During the September 29th presidential debate, Democratic Party presidential candidate Joe Biden responded to President Trump's remarks about Antifa being a violent organization by telling him Antifa is simply an idea, not an organization. Yeah, right. Well, Robbie Starbuck posted this video.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. Antifa's an idea,
Got it.
not
Kid.
militia.
Couldn't stand by to see self-sabotage. You should really stop that stuff.
Get me bleeding!
Antifa's an idea.
Shut the fuck up and you listen to me!
Yeah, that's just an idea, just an amorphous idea, isn't it? It's not a group, it's not an action, it's just an idea.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Stop! Shoot the bomb!
You got it.
Not militia.
That's a cute dress there, Mr. Antifa bucket drummer. Yeah, come on, man. Why are you protecting Antifa? It's exactly what he's doing. So, Walk Away founder Brandon Straka, one of America's bravest patriots, yeah, Brandon Straka is great, shared a screenshot this morning from an Antifa idea leader. That's funny. Adam Rahuba of Pittsburgh, warning President Trump that if his supporters that if he doesn't concede and turn the keys over to the far left radical regime of puppet Joe Biden, there will be blood in the streets of the suburbs in America. You know what? If you want to take that shit to the suburbs, I think you're going to find out that they're not going to lay down as quickly as you think they are. They're not going to lay down as quickly as you think they are. And so this is what he tweeted. He said, @RealDonaldTrump, if you do not concede by Sunday at noon, we will begin to block roads in conservative areas. Your supporters will not be able to go to work or go to the grocery store to feed their families. We are armed and will retaliate to attempts of vehicular homicide. By vehicular homicide, he obviously just means people who are trying to get past them. Well, guess what? If you're armed and somebody tries to drive through you, that's your damn fault. And don't be surprised if they come out armed and they start lighting you the fuck up. Because I've seen your John Brown Gun Club videos. Y'all ain't ready for this heat. Y'all don't want it. I know you think you do. Because you live in a fantasy world where communism is a real thing that can work. And so you think that all you need is a gun. You can go out there and you're on even playing ground. No, motherfucker, you're not. You're not. You're gonna go up against some... You're going to go up against some Bubba who's been shooting since he was in diapers. Came back from the military. Man, going to be in for it. You're going to be in for it. I'm warning you guys. Adam Rahuba. Little bitch. So here are a few tweets from Rahuba, whose Twitter account has now been suspended. Wow, I'm surprised they actually suspended an Antifa member. That doesn't happen very often. His tweets include comments about targeting conservative politicians and how he's... All right, so let's just read his tweets. He says, if you have children and you let them see their MAGA grandparents, I don't respect you. So if you have political differences with your family and you don't excommunicate them as family, then he doesn't respect you. It's because the left doesn't respect family in general. I talked about this the other day. I talked about how they hate the nuclear family because the nuclear family is the smallest form of government, and they want the form of government that lords over all of us because they're stupid enough to think that they'll be the ones running that government. No, you're going to put that government into power, and then you're going to be the first one that government lines up against the wall and, bam, pops out. So this attitude is why I'm done targeting conservative politicians and have begun operations directly against MAGA voters. Come get you some. Come get you some, Adam Rahuba. Come and try to get me. I'm a MAGA voter. You want to come after me? I'm right here. I'm right here. Come and get it. I don't think I can reach more than... I don't think I'm ever more than 3 feet away from a gun in this apartment. I've got them tucked away everywhere. So, good luck with that. Not just guns, crossbows, knives, deadly weapons all over this apartment. Come and kick my door down. You will not have a good welcome. So in this tweet, Rahuba admits he voted for Biden. So he says, I don't feel good about my vote for Biden. I'm optimistic and hopeful that in about 8 to 10 hours, America's asshole and his fan club gets an enema. Conspiracy cults and militia nuts will be pushed back underground. No, we won't. No, we won't. We are not going the fuck anywhere, and we're not conspiracy cults, and we're not nuts. We might be about militias, but guess what? That's in the Constitution. So you're not a nut for defending the Constitution. You're an American. Unlike you, Adam Rahuba. But he says, and then the work begins. And by work, I mean watch out libs. That's what so many liberals don't understand, is that these communists, I'm starting to rethink the merits of the left-right dynamic. I don't even know that makes sense anymore. The whole idea of left versus right. First of all, I've always had an issue with it just by the fact that it's based on the French Revolution, not the American Revolution. And I don't like anything American being based off of the French Revolution. The French Revolution was what brought us Karl Marx to begin with. The French Revolution was really, maybe there is stuff further back, but at least in modern, not even modern, but since the Age of Enlightenment, since America began, the French Revolution was the early inspiration for the Marxist ideologies. And so I don't like the fact that we define things by left and right because that's how it was in the French Revolution. And when it comes down to it, I think we really need to start framing it this way. Americans versus communists. Because we found it's communists and fascists. It's kind of an amalgam because I've explained before how China is, they use the authoritarianism of communism and the economic model of fascism, and then they blend them together as a bastard brainchild of, Stalin and Mussolini. It's like a combination of the two. And that's what they're bringing here to America. It's fascistic communism. We need to come up with a better term for that. Let's see. Fasci communism, commu-fascism. I don't know. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. But we need to come up with a term for the bastardization or the bastard brainchild of communism and fascism, because that's what they're pushing. That's exactly what they're pushing. And so all these liberals who voted against Donald Trump, they don't realize that the reason the left like Joe Biden is not because they like Joe Biden. It's because he's a doddering old demented man. And I say demented literally in that he has dementia. And they're going to be able to run roughshod all over him. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is right on board with all of the Antifa leftist propaganda. So they already have their shill right underneath Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who we already know, she's already said, in a Harris administration with Biden as president, we already know what that means. They're going to come after the liberals. What the liberals need to understand is that whether you like Trump or not, you do fall more on the American, you fall under American. You still believe in things like free speech. You still believe in things like the Second Amendment. Maybe you think there should be some regulations, which we need to whip you into shape on that. But you are now under our tent. You are now under the tent of the quote-unquote right, which is really just Americanism, constitutionalism. If you believe in the Constitution, you should have voted for Donald Trump. Because these people are out to get you, and they will usurp that power. They're going to. It's gonna happen. It's not a question of it. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when. So on November, okay, and I guess he was giving rides to the polls, but Revved's Twitter account is littered with threats of violence and hatred. Yet he was allowed to continue to tweet, while conservatives have been removed en masse for tweeting about, you know, that mass conspiracy theory that we dare not say on YouTube lest we get banned, and I already have a strike against me. And almost every tweet of the president in the United States is tagged, disputed by Twitter. Yeah. This is big tech censorship at its finest. How many mainstream media outlets will report on Revved's violent threats about against conservatives and against conservative areas? None. But speaking of big tech censorship, they are right back at it. They don't stop. So we have this from the Post-Millennial. OANN, One American News Network, has been suspended and demonetized by YouTube. This is a pretty major news organization now. They're one of the big ones that have risen over the last 4 years. So One American News Network has been suspended for 1 week from YouTube and is unable to post new videos or live streams. This strike by YouTube is for a violation of YouTube's policy on COVID-19 misinformation, because they themselves are determining what is true and what is not. They are the arbiters of truth. These big tech technocrats have anointed themselves the arbiters of all that is true. And nobody really even knows what they said that got them banned, because of course, just like when I got the 1 week boot last week from YouTube, they didn't tell me exactly what I did. They said I was cyberbullying and harassing Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, good job, YouTube. You go ahead and protect those pedophiles and child sex traffickers. It's real honorable. Real stand-up job you're doing, YouTube. So Axios reported that OANN has been demonetized as well due to a suspension from the YouTube Partner Program. OANN will have to reapply to that program to begin earning revenue from their videos again, which means they're going to have to bend over, spread their cheeks, and take that YouTube dick before they're allowed. Just bend over to the YouTube will before they're allowed back into the partnership program. Get fucked, YouTube. Get fucked. We're not playing these games anymore. We're not letting you run roughshod over us. We've got alternatives coming up, which, speaking of, this is a perfect time for me to remind you guys. Follow me on Rumble and BitChute as well. And also, please, YouTube does a ton to stunt the growth of this channel. You know, I see they'll freeze my view counts. They'll actually remove views. You know, I'll go to bed, and then I'll wake up in the morning, and a video will have only 2/3 of the views it had when I went to bed the night before. They automatically unsubscribe people from my channel. They are always suppressing me. So the only way that I can grow is if you share my content. I know it's not for everybody. I know I'm a little rough around the edges sometimes, but right now, I think that warlord voice is what we need. So that's what I'm giving y'all, because I am revved up. All right. So YouTube has stated that they do not believe OANN to be an authoritative news source. And this is one thing that we're seeing from the left. It's, you know, they're defining what's an authoritative source. They use fact checkers to again, be the arbiters of truth. They use experts. You know, we always have these experts on everything that we're supposed to trust. But really, functionally, all they're about is taking the political debate away from the argument. They use experts as a way so that we don't ever question anything. So that You know, they know better than you. Listen to these people. They have a PhD. They've studied this. Your brain is nothing compared to theirs. You can't possibly, you know, if you see any inconsistencies, if you see that they're flip-flopping back and forth and it feels like they're just playing to a narrative, that's because you're dumb. These people are the experts. No, fuck that. You're just trying to take all debate out of the discussion. They use all of these different apparatuses, these mechanisms that they use to steamroll the competition or steamroll the opposition, so that nobody really realizes exactly that's what they're doing. That there's nothing authoritative about a source just because they deem it authoritative. There's nothing necessarily true about something that a independent fact checker says is true, because we've seen them lie constantly. There's nothing about an expert that actually makes them more knowledgeable, as we've seen through this entire pandemic, as they've gotten so many things wrong, and we've gotten multiple opinions from all over the place, and no matter what new information comes out, they never deviate from the narrative. Funny how that works, isn't it? Funny how that works. How new information, for all of their expert brilliance, they get new information and it never actually changes their position. It's almost like they've thrown the scientific process of skepticism, which is the cornerstone of the scientific process, completely out the window. You see that all the time with the whole idea of consensus science. You know, like with climate change. You know, there's a 97% of scientists agree. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem, because skepticism is the cornerstone of the scientific method. And so if they're all in consensus like that, that's a warning flag. That sends a different message to anybody who has any kind of divergent thought processes at their ready. That's a red flag. Red flag. But they're not the only ones. Of course, Facebook, also from the post-millennial. Excuse me. Facebook may change the algorithm to discriminate against small independent media. Again, which is why I need you to share my videos if you like the things that I have to say. During the contentious election season, Facebook implemented changes to its algorithm to give more weight to mainstream media outlets than to smaller, lesser-known publications. That strategy may become permanent if Facebook employees have their way. Because, of course. Now, to me, what this says to me, this is a smoking gun for the fact that they're now publishers, not a platform, and are no longer protected by Section 230. Which means I think it's time that people start just flat out suing these companies and challenging their protection in courts. If our legislature is not going to do anything about this, maybe it's time we take it to the courts. Maybe this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we completely buttfuck all of these social media companies who think that they get to take over the world, get to control all of the information flow, and construct the world in their technocratic vision. This needs to be challenged. And I think this article, what they're revealing right here, is proof positive. So enough of these Senate hearings where we get a great Ted Cruz clip of him going into Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey. Sure, that's cathartic. It feels good to see that, but it doesn't actually become anything. It doesn't change anything. It's time to take these motherfuckers to the court, and we start using this as evidence that they are no longer protected, and we sue them out of existence. Sell your stock in them if you have any. So Facebook employees were partially worried about stories in support of U.S. President Donald Trump and stories that came from right-wing media outlets which claim that the election was rigged. Of course they're particularly worried about that, because deep down, they know it's true. They know it's true, and they know that it's going to lead to 4 more years. What they don't realize is that them censoring it isn't gonna stop what's coming. Because what's coming is gonna happen in the Supreme Court. It's not gonna happen on Facebook. Excuse me. It's not gonna happen on Twitter. It's not gonna happen on YouTube. You guys are very powerful. but you're not that powerful. It's not gonna. You can sweep it under the rug all you want. When Donald Trump is putting his hand on the Bible come January, and we're getting 4 more years of Trump, and everybody sits there and says, "How is this possible?" It's because you did not let them know, and it was coming either way. Nothing you can do, nothing you can censor is going to stop what's coming. You're gonna get it. You know, y'all did the crime, you're gonna do the time. And through all of this, all you've done is implicate yourself in election rigging yourself. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute here, about how the media and social media have rigged the election. So, Facebook may permanently implement these changes in order to calm people down and purportedly reduce divisiveness and hate on their platform by promoting mainstream media over more highly engaged pages with overtly partisan content. Mainstream media is overtly partisan. They're just all Democrats, so they're all leftist, so that's all the partisan nature that they like. Do these people not realize? You know, it's so funny. You get some of these leftists that will call Bernie Sanders a centrist. The dude is straight up outright called for worker ownership of companies, straight up socialism. And these people are so far left. It's like, you know, we had the left and the right. Hold on, which is your left? So this is your right. So this is your left, right here. So as the left went further and further left, and the right just kind of hovered around right here, they go further and further left. They're like, we gotta we gotta de-radicalize all these right-wingers. You're the one drifting out into fucking communism land. We're just here, we're just like the Constitution. We're the same as we've always been. You just got some cultural, you got some cultural institutional power, and now you are just trying to run roughshod over us, and you project every single thing that you do onto us, so completely unaware that it ain't us, it's you. According to the New York Times, it was Facebook employees that proposed an emergency change to the website's news feed algorithm, which helps determine what more than 2 billion people see every day. And here, let's just read this from Peter J. Hassan. Facebook changed its algorithm to prioritize specific news outlets, those deemed authoritative by Facebook, after the election. In response, the employees proposed an emergency change to the site's newsfeed algorithm, which helps determine what more than 2 billion people see every day. It involved emphasizing the importance of what Facebook calls News Ecosystems Quality Scores, or NEQ, a secret internal ranking it assigns to news publishers based on signals about the quality of their journalism. Signals that they themselves define. Typically, NEQ scores play a minor role in determining what appears in a user's feed, but several days after the election, Mr. Zuckerberg agreed to increase the weight that Facebook's algorithm gave to NEQ scores to make sure authoritative news appeared more prominently, said three people with knowledge of the decision who were not authorized to discuss internal deliberations. No, they're not authorized to discuss internal deliberations because they know that this right here is the smoking gun that they are not allowed Section 230 protections. They are straight up a publisher. They're not a platform. When they are deciding who is authoritative and ranking accordingly, that is definitionally a publisher. So, 2 points of view. Freedom to post and read versus curated content without value-laden oversight are clashing internally within Facebook. At least there's somebody fighting for, freedom to post and read. And perfectly represented a clash of two potential prevailing philosophies. One which Facebook believes, sorry, I can't talk. One which believes Facebook should be a change agent, aka communist activists, and another which believes that they should focus on success. Yeah, not alienating a mass amount of your user base. Facebook at this point is mostly conservatives. All the lefties have gone elsewhere. You know, Facebook has become like the older, more mature kind of the boomer platform, and the platform of older millennials like myself. But you know, it really is insane because they totally rigged it. It was totally rigged. So we can see this right here from the Gateway Pundit. 17% of Biden voters said that they wouldn't have voted for him if they knew about media-censored scandals. So if people actually knew what was going on with Joe Biden, 17% would not have voted for him. Donald Trump would be uncontested our president right now, no matter how much election fraud they pulled. They would not have been able to overcome another 17%. So a whopping 17% of Joe Biden supporters said that they would not have voted for him if they were aware of various scandals that were hidden by mainstream media and social media. Let's not leave them out. They're part of this too. One of every 6 Biden voters we surveyed, 17%, said they would have abandoned the Democrat candidate had they known the facts about one or more of these news stories. A shift of this magnitude would have changed the outcome in all 6 of the swing states won by Joe Biden, and Donald Trump would have comfortably won a second term as president. The survey found that more than 1/3 of Biden voters, 35.4%, were unaware of the serious allegations brought against the Democratic nominee by Tara Reade, a former staffer who said Biden sexually assaulted her in the 1990s. They found that 8.9% of his voters would not have voted for him had they known about the allegation. And yeah, that was actually corroborated by her mother calling into Larry King. The names weren't mentioned, but she said that her mom lived in, where was it? It was San Luis Obispo. And she was calling from Larry King, I think it was Larry King, calling Larry King from San Luis Obispo, talking about how her daughter worked for a powerful senator and was just assaulted, and it was right around that time. It was fairly well corroborated that was true. And he even used the whole "come on, man" to her. Additionally, 45.1% said that they were not aware of the scandals surrounding Hunter Biden. That is amazing. The fact that this was so big in all of our news circles, 45.1% said they weren't even aware of them. That's almost half of his voters. Never even heard about it, never even knew about it. According to our poll, full awareness of the Hunter Biden scandal would have led to 9.4% of Biden voters to abandon the Democratic candidate, flipping all 6 of the swing states he won to Trump, giving the president 311 electoral votes. The media did not just hide Biden's scandals, they also hid Trump's successes. A massive 39.4% of Biden voters were unaware of the record 11,161,000 jobs that were recently created. This would have changed the votes of 5.4% of respondents. We saw the same effect when it came to foreign policy. The president and his team made history by brokering peace agreements with Israel and several of her Arab neighbors. One reason Trump received 3 nominations of the Nobel Peace Prize. I thought it was 4, actually. I thought he got 1 for the whole Serbia-Kosovo one. I thought he got 2 for different Arab deals, and then 1 for what was just overall the Trump doctrine. Maybe he did only get 1 for the Middle East deals. I thought he got 2. I thought it was a total of 4. But yeah, so we got 3 nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yet 43.5% of Biden voters had no idea about these historic agreements. Imagine that. Peace in the Middle East is something that has been on America's, the heart and soul of America for decades now, was bringing peace to the Middle East. And John Kerry told us, oh, it's impossible. It'll never happen without dealing with Palestine. Peace in the Middle East has been one of those things that I grew up with. Like one day, maybe we'll have peace in the Middle East. It was a dream of my generation. And then it happens. And 43.5% of Biden voters had no idea they even occurred. If that is not media malfeasance, if that is not covering up on a grand scale, what is actually going on in the world, I don't know what is. But the Democrats they absolutely rely on low information voters. And then they rely on the media to keep their voters as low information as possible and just stir them up into emotional tizzies so that they have this Trump derangement syndrome that they can't see past. But the information would have led to 5% of overall Biden voters changing their vote to Trump in front of Arizona, in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin for a total of 295 electoral votes. I'm surprised that would have only have changed 5%. Because that is a huge, huge deal. Huge deal. And the fact that it would only change 5% just goes to show you how just done and over the Democrats are. Now, one of the latest efforts that they've done to try to black pill us, to make doomers out of us in the whole election fraud scandal, is they've been trying to discredit Sidney Powell. They've been trying to discredit the entire Trump team, but Sidney Powell especially, because she's been going after the Dominion voting. She's been going after the electronic side. And so the Trump campaign put out this statement the other day saying that Sidney Powell is not a member of Trump's legal team, and there were people that were trying to spin that as a way to say that she's gone off the rails. She's nuts. She's kooky. Don't listen to her. But that's not the case. No, she's not part of Trump's legal team. But here's the thing. She never was. She never was. She is independently out there fighting for Americans like a true patriot. And they're terrified of her. They're terrified of her. So are the establishment Republicans. And I think what they were trying to do, the establishment Republicans were trying to run away from her. But we have Rudy Giuliani here because we saw this. She was in the press conference with Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. So it's not like they're not working in tandem, but they are taking different paths of investigation. And so Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani explained to Fox Business Network's Lou Dobbs tonight about why the two have chosen to take different paths to investigate voter fraud in the 2020 election. And so we have this from Rudy Giuliani here.
The question I've got is, now we've been watching you pursue both electoral fraud through the mail ballots, electoral fraud as well through the software and the claims about Dominion. A break with Sidney Powell over the weekend. What's behind that, and what is the motive, the reason for the split between Powell and Giuliani et al.?
Well, I think it's because we're pursuing two different theories. Our theory of the case to get to the Supreme Court, now in 4 places, and it's soon going to be in 2 others, and there'll be an overall lawsuit, is basically misconduct of the election by state officials in at least 5 or 6 different states, in which the misconduct of the election involved deprivation of constitutional rights for the president.
Yeah, and that's just it. They are not denouncing Sidney Powell at all. They are just making a clear delineation of the 2 different paths. The official Trump team is going after the constitutional process, or the constitutional rights and the process and the officials involved, while Sidney Powell is going the more technical route, going into the voting systems. So they have 2 different tracks of voter fraud, and it makes sense to keep those separated. Because if you try to entertain them together, it's that whole idea of you chase 2 rabbits, you lose both of them. Well, you get 2 hunters and 2 rabbits, well, all of a sudden you can get both of them. But you don't want one team going after 2 different things. All of a sudden it becomes incoherent. So I think this is actually a brilliant strategy on their part, and that they're making sure that there are 2 separate court cases going on. That you don't have a judge that is sitting there having to hear about election officials and election machines, and it's all wrapped up in one case. No, you keep them separate, so that the judges in the court system, they only have to focus on one at a time. And Sidney Powell, well, let me just read her statement. Let me just read her statement here. So she put out a statement and she said, I agree with the campaign statement that I am not part of the campaign's legal team. I never signed a retainer agreement or sent the president or the campaign a bill for my expenses or fees. My intent has always been to expose all the fraud I could find and let the chips fall where they may, whether it be Republicans or Democrats. The evidence I'm compiling is overwhelming that this software tool was used to shift millions of votes from President Trump and other Republican candidates to Biden and other Democrat candidates. We are proceeding to prepare our lawsuits and plan to file it this week, which apparently, according to Ellen Wood, she is going to be filing a lawsuit in Georgia today. It's going to be happening today. So she says it will be epic. We will not allow this great republic to be stolen by communists from without and within, or our votes altered or manipulated by foreign actors in Hong Kong, Iran, Venezuela, or Serbia, for example, who have neither regard for human life nor the people who are the engine of this exceptional country. Thank God she's calling it out as communists, because we need to stop referring to just left. You know, my big issue with referring to the left not only being that it dates back to the French Revolution, but also when you think of the left, you think of your run-of-the-mill liberals. You don't think of outright communists or Marxists. Marxists, I think, is actually the best way thing to call them instead of communists, because Marxist includes the whole deluge of socialists, democratic socialists, communists, all of that. And we are at war with Marxism. Americanism versus Marxism. And it is incumbent upon us, because we are all influenced by our culture, to take a look inside, do a deep reflection of ourselves, and be able to identify what parts of our worldview are informed by Marxism. Because that's the thing. A lot of people who are Marxists don't even necessarily know that they're Marxists. They don't identify themselves as Marxists. They maybe have never read Karl Marx in their life. But through the institutional influences that they take in, they are informed by a Marxist worldview, because our cultural institutions are all informed by Marxism. Just go to any university and it's all Marxism. It's all anti-racism. It's all equity. It's all this redistributive cultural Marxism that is designed to separate us, and then is going to be used to spread, redistribute wealth, and totally tear down the economy. That's what it's all about. And so it is incumbent upon us to be able to look within ourselves and be honest about what parts of our worldview might have been hacked by this Marxist influence. So you don't have to necessarily be a Marxist to be informed to some capacity by Marxism. But we need to be able to look in, identify that, and excise that out of our worldview. Altogether. Cut the cancer out. Just cut it out. So, Sidney Powell continues. We, the people, elected Donald Trump and other Republican candidates to restore the vision of America as a place of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes. Now, tangentially related to Sidney Powell, we have another great piece of news, although I do think it's a little late coming. And also from the Post-Millennial, President Trump is going to pardon General Michael Flynn. President Trump's confidants have told Axios that the president plans to pardon former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Flynn served as a senior advisor to Trump during his 2016 presidential campaign. And Michael Flynn is one of the greatest American heroes. He, I think, when all is said and done, will be up there with General George Washington. I really do believe that. I think Donald Trump is going to be up there as well. I think these are true patriots. They're true heroes. And my one gripe is that Flynn should have been pardoned a long time ago. I think he wasn't for optics reasons. I think we maybe put too much value on what the optics meant. I think we're at that point where the optics, because the left control. I'm doing it again. Because the Marxists control the media, they control the narrative. We were worried about the optics, but we need to fortify ourselves in the doctrine of fuck you. And we need to, anytime someone calls you a racist, calls you a bigot, you say, fuck you, you goddamn Marxist. And then you can flip around and call them racist too. Because cultural Marxism is rooted in racism. All of it. All of it. But this is fantastic news. General Michael Flynn going to get pardoned. And, you know, when Trump wins when Trump wins here in 2020, I've got a little itch that makes me think that General Michael Flynn might be our 2024 nominee, and he would have my vote in a second. He wouldn't even have to campaign to me at all. Already sold. Already sold. But before that happens, we first have to finish getting through the 2020 election. And of course, there's just more and more evidence coming out. Now, I'm trying not to go into too many more deep dives. I've done a number of deep dives on the election fraud and everything that's been coming out. But there's only so much before it's just like, all right, guys, we get it. Like, there's just a mountain of evidence. They stole the election. Like, let's just let them do their job and get it done. We don't need to necessarily call out every 3,000 votes and everything that have been found here. And, you know, yeah, we do need to hear about it, but the deep dives. We don't need to go quite as deep because at the end of the day, we already found the treasure. We already found it. Now we're just looking in and seeing what's inside. But we have this from another one from 100% Fed Up. A site that I just recently discovered. You'll notice I use it a lot today. I just kind of recently discovered it, and so I'm exploring it a little bit, and I do like it. I like that they got Andrew Breitbart right up here, and God, that video that I opened with, that was very, very fitting for where we're at, because yes, we are at war. So, Overstock founder says he has clear evidence of voter fraud, accuses mainstream media of taking part in a psychological operation to try and get Americans to accept President-elect Joe Biden. Yes, that is absolutely correct. This is psychological warfare. It is a psyop that they are running on us so that we just roll over and die and accept that Joe Biden is our president and America will continue to be sold out to the Marxist globalists. So, Twitter user Murray shared an explosive interview with Overstock founder Patrick Byrne, PhD, an avowed libertarian who never voted for President Trump, but claims to have shared evidence of Dominion voter fraud with everyone around the president. And so I just want to read what this guy says, and then we're going to go through just a few headlines, because we don't need to I don't need to read the articles after this. So he continued. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's get the first one. So, breaking, Patrick Byrne, PhD and founder of Overstock.com. In November 2018, the Dallas elections had irregularities, and the state government of Texas hired a cybersecurity firm to figure out and explore those irregularities. The Dallas election was run on Dominion systems. Of course it was. This firm, so he continued. This firm had 2 years to reverse engineer the cheated election. So while the rest of America has had 2 weeks to understand this firm had 2 years to understand it. I came across them back in July/August out of this year, and I started funding them, along with some other cybersecurity groups, hackers, private detectives, this and that. We put together a very complete picture. We are basically at least 10 There are basically at least 10 hacks to accomplish within a Dominion system. So we knew the whole plan. An interesting angle on this that'll be explored someday is that we tried very hard to teach the Department of Homeland Security about this using some political connections. I would say that they did not accept with alacrity, brisk and cheerful readiness, but using some political connections, we got the meeting and started explaining. And after in another meeting, a classified briefing was set up, and CISA refused to come. So the state government of Texas hired this elite cybersecurity group, a bunch of federal law enforcement and military intelligence type folks, and the CISA folks refused to attend the meeting. So then the election happened. We knew by 2 days after the election exactly what they had done and how they had done it. Since then, it's been 18 days of me posted up in Washington, feeding this data and trying to bring it to the people who would listen. And this time, there are parties quite interested. I'd say we had a breakthrough since last Sunday. Everybody gets it here. Everyone around the president. I have been providing information as requested. Of course, all the mainstream is trying to bury this in concrete. That's a good term. I like that. Bury this in concrete. This will be their final black mark because what will be, in retrospect, in a month or two, it will be clear that they took part in a cover-up. They took part in a psychological operation, frankly, to try to get Americans to accept quote, President-elect Joe Biden. And I guess there's a big interview here with him. It's like 43 minutes, so I'm not going to play any of it. But, you know, every day, we should all be going to the Gateway Pundit every day just to see the headlines. Because at the end of the day, we already know that the fraud exists. We already know the broad strokes of what happened. But it is good to just fortify our positions by every day going to the Gateway Pundit and seeing just how a new pile of evidence is stacking up every single day. So we have this. Happy Thanksgiving. Lynn Wood announces Sidney Powell will file a major lawsuit in Georgia tomorrow. Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona announce election fraud hearings. And that's going to be through their state legislatures, which I believe are all Republican. Which, well, you know what? I shouldn't give such a thumbs up to Republicans. Although, maybe I should, because while we normally couldn't count them, I think the Trump supporters have made it loud and clear that if you're not on the Trump train, you're not invited to the party anymore. You're fucking out. You're fucking out. Trump's fucking in. Kenny Powers says so. Wisconsin group is filing emergency petition after finding 150,000 potentially fraudulent votes. Dominion's Trump-hating executive Eric Coomer. I still can't hear that name Coomer without laughing about the Coomer meme. Dominion's Trump-hating executive Eric Coomer performed a suspicious update in Georgia a week before early voting started. Yeah, that's not good. Breaking. Ballot count upload error in Arizona. Over 6,000 false Biden votes discovered. And attorney Lynn Wood goes on Tweetstorm, posts video of destruction and shredding of election fraud evidence in Cobb County, which is in Georgia. And this came out the other day, and this woman she saw that they had all these ballots, and they were being shredded. And so she started taking video. Susan Knox was her name. And she started taking video of all of this. You guys can look it up. We're not gonna go into too much more of this. Oh, let's just see this right here.
Here's the shredding truck.
I haven't watched this video.
Here's a shredding truck in front of the Whitlock Avenue Cobb offices, election offices. Just shredded a bunch of stuff. I just saw him load some stuff in.
Probably not good when you have massive shredder trucks, industrial-sized shredding trucks outside the election office. Not good. Not good. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Please, if you haven't already yet, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel, share this video. It's about the only way my channel can grow is if you guys help me and help me share it. Also, if you'd like to help contribute to the channel, there are links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below. I do work very hard to bring you this content, so if you think I do a good job, I would really appreciate it. You know, I hate to sit here and beg, but at the end of the day, this is work, this is a job, and I mostly do it for free at this point. So, anyways, guys, also, as well, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Parler, Minds, and Pill.net, all at Ram Thorburn, and also, follow me on BitChute and Rumble, also at Ram Thorburn. And as always, rev your engines, ride hard, and fight like hell.